The Michigan Wolverines just made a massive statement. Let's talk about it. My name's Aaron.
And I'm Paul.
And we are the Big Ten guys on the daily, pushing out Big Ten content, news, rumors, analysis, whatever the heck it is, Big Ten. We're going to talk about it right here. So, Paul, tell them what they got to do.
Just take a quick second, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and get those alerts on. We got a lot more Michigan and Big Ten content coming.
So don't miss it. Specifically talking about the Michigan Wolverines. And anyone who watches this channel knows I'm a Michigan State fan. Paul is a Michigan fan. And I will tell you, this statement right here, the Wolverines just made. Listen, I'm getting a little triggered by it from past people who have donned this number. Paul, do you want to jump into it for us?
Well, the big statement is incoming transfer Donovan McCulley has just been given the number 1 jersey. Now, quick history on the number 1 jersey and why Aaron is haunted by it. Many Michigan greats, including Braylon Edwards and his 3-touchdown game in that huge comeback back in, 02, 03, way back in the day.
Don't got to remind me.
Some other guys I loved, David Terrell, most recently, Devin Funchess wore it, and then our guy, Roman Wilson, took it on his last year at Michigan, had some big-time plays in that jersey, but it is a jersey that is generally reserved for players that they expect to be Michigan legends. And I think we've all been pretty high on Donovan McCulley. Obviously, he didn't play much last year at Indiana, but his most recent season he played there, he put up like 650 yards, bunch of touchdowns in a pretty mediocre offense. And now coming into the maize and blue, we've been hearing a lot of good things, been hoping he can be that elite receiver that we haven't had since Roman Wilson left. And the fact that they are giving him that number 1 jersey tells you that they've seen in practice that he is the guy, and that is big time.
It's very big time as well, especially coming from a team that last year at the quarterback, I know we're talking wide receivers, but at the quarterback position greatly struggled. And we'll talk about a little more of that in just a second. But you look at Bryce Underwood coming in, going to be the starter, the number 1 recruit, paid literally a king's ransom to come to the University of Michigan to lead this team back to the playoffs, back to a national championship. Him and McCulley are going to be a great connection. So it makes sense. It also scares me because it just lets me know there's another great Michigan wide receiver coming. So it's not going to be good for the Big Ten or the Spartans.
Yeah, and there's nothing that helps out a young quarterback like a 6'5" receiver who can go up and catch contested balls. I think I saw the other day one article was comparing him to another Michigan great, Nico Collins, just in that big guy who can beat you deep as well, go up and get it. Nico, if you remember him, had a couple good years his sophomore, junior year, and I'll always be sick about the fact that COVID robbed him of his senior year. Yep. But you can see the dude is a star in the NFL, and hopefully McCulley will be a star at Michigan and later on in the NFL as well.
For sure. And so big news, big statement for a team that does that as well. I know there's other teams that do similar traditions, but that should be big for the Wolverines. Now, as well, moving on for the Wolverines, another interesting thing from ESPN dropping bounce back teams for 2025. And we look like at a whole list. What's funny is they have Florida State above this. Lord knows if they want to do anything after that season where they're like, we should have been the national championships, and then they do that, they lay an egg. This season, they better do something. They better do something or it's going to be rough for them. But anyways, we know 2023, perfect season, 15-0. Last year, 8-5. The stat I want to throw out before Paul can throw it out because I think it's crazy, but they were last nationally among non-service academies in passing yards per game with 129.1. Now you're like, Aaron, I realize you're laughing, but don't you remember that the Michigan Wolverines beat the Spartans? Yes, I do. It's just wild to think. I'm laughing mostly because they beat Ohio State, who won the national championship, and they beat Alabama. And sure, you can argue Alabama wasn't their Alabama under Nick Saban, but they were still a good team that was fringe playoff team. for sure. And so it blows my mind to think, again, if they would have had a quarterback that was average,
Just had a pulse.
yeah, just had a pulse, roll someone out there, and they're in the playoffs. Because again, that 8-5 record, they weren't bad. They were not a bad team.
They weren't. And they underachieved based on some metrics. I mean, it was an elite defense. Obviously, they lost Mason Graham, Kenny Grant, Will Johnson, but there's a lot of great pieces still on the defense. They brought in some good transfers. TJ Metcalf, we've done a video talking about him. He is coming from Arkansas. He's going to be really good in the secondary. And I think we all know with Wink Martindale and all the dogs we got on defense will be elite again.
Mm-hmm.
But whether it's Mikey Keene or Bryce Underwood, the offense is going to be better this year and the team's going to be better. And I think all of us in the world want Bryce Underwood. And personally, I think it will be Bryce Underwood. But even if it's Mikey Keene, like, I actually was at the Michigan-Fresno State game last year, and I remember, I had no idea that I'd be watching Michigan's future quarterback, but I just remember being in that game and thinking, like, man, we're playing Fresno State, and we have the worst quarterback in this game.
Fresno State, well, time out. Yeah, put some respect on Fresno State's name. They've had some good quarterbacks coming out of there, but I agree. I agree.
Yeah, but like I
saying.
remember thinking that in the game, like, I mean, he threw a big pick six to Will Johnson, but who hasn't? I just remember thinking in that game, like, this guy is better than what we have this year, and that is kind of frightening for this season. And now he's on the team. So if that's the worst we have, I still think we're probably 9 and maybe 10 wins, but I think we're all hoping Bryce gets the job and takes us to a ceiling even higher than what Mikey Keene can do.
Question: if Mikey Keene was on the team last year, this is a question for everyone. If Mikey Keene was on the team last year, is that a playoff team? They make a deep push in the playoffs. Yes or no? Comment below. Paul, what do you think?
I really think they would have.
Yeah.
Some of these games, the quarterback, like Orgy, couldn't even throw the ball past the line of scrimmage.
No.
Like, you knew what they were trying to do, and they still scored a little bit on some teams. But yeah, I think even a halfway decent QB like Mikey Keene, and this is a playoff team last year.
I would agree with that. So comment below, tell us what you think. Mikey Keene, that was off the top of the head with that question. But what do you think? You make the playoffs last year, yay or nay? And do you expect the Wolverines to be a breakout team, a rebound team? Specifically, we've looked at this just a couple times with their schedule. The most concerning games are in Norman against Oklahoma, in Lincoln against Nebraska, USC. Regardless, that's going to be tough in the Coliseum, and then you go down to Ohio State. Notice I didn't say at East Lansing. I love my Spartans. If you're watching, you know that. But I'm being a realist. I'm being a realist right now. So I would tell you, yeah, at minimum 9-3, but I think 10-2, 11-1 aren't realistic because I don't know what to expect out of Oklahoma. I really don't.
I think they went like 5-7 last year. They weren't good, but they brought in that transfer from Washington State, who a lot of people are really high on, and I think people are expecting them to be ranked in the preseason polls.
I haven't
with that kind of improvement.
Brett Venables, I have not been that impressed with at Oklahoma. I think I hate to say this. I don't want to say like he's just a coordinator. I think that's disrespectful to say, but he's
just a coordinator.
Yeah, he's just a coordinator. He had a great. So Oklahoma was 6-7 last year.
Okay.
And they ended up losing. Wow. They lost to Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl. So again, Oklahoma, it's a great program. It's a great program. But I don't think sure, if you were to tell me a handful of years ago Oklahoma's playing Michigan, like, dang, Oklahoma, like under Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma, solid. Brett Venables, nah. I think your toughest two games are for sure going to be at Nebraska, because I'm very high on Nebraska, and against Ohio State, which is luckily for you guys at the Big House.
I mean, frankly, it hasn't really mattered where that game's at. That's just you know how the SEC schedules like the Citadel at the end of the year. That's what Michigan's done with Ohio State now. They schedule them so that a little cupcake game.
I have no
No, but
I can't respond. I can't respond.
Being serious, at Oklahoma, at USC, at Nebraska, I expect at least USC and Nebraska, or I'd say USC and Oklahoma are probably 7-8 win teams this year. I think Nebraska's 9 or 10 win team.
Yeah.
But if Michigan can pull 2 out of 3 of those, they're probably 10-1 going into the Ohio State game.
I would agree with that.
We're talking playoffs, even if they lost, but I don't think anybody's expecting that.
No, right. I would agree. But I would say this is the one thing about that Oklahoma game is I by no means want to say it's a trap game, but it depends. Bryce Underwood, obviously, we expect to be the starter. How is he going to come out looking against New Mexico? Is he going to feel relaxed, feel good? Because playing at the Big House to start off is great that he has that game. But then again, going into Norman,
it's tough for a true
freshman. So what is that going to look like? Again, I don't think this Oklahoma team is going to be great, but it's also a tough place to play. So again, I think it's probably going to be more difficult than than people think coming from a 6-7 team last year. So comment below, tell us what you guys think. Mikey Keene, playoff caliber quarterback last year for the Wolverines. Yes or no? Comment below. Anything else, Paul?
Just give us those record predictions too for Michigan this year and which games you think are going to be tough, and then just hit the like and subscribe button on your way out.
Don't miss out. We'll talk later. Peace.
See ya.